On June 8, 1989, investigators in Richmond, British Columbia, discovered the body of Cindy James. She was hogtied with her hands behind her back and a nylon stocking wrapped tightly around her throat. Yet the autopsy proved she actually died from a massive drug overdose.
Wait, so she was strangled and drugged? That sounds like a professional hit.
That's the mystery. The scene looked like a violent murder, but the police were convinced Cindy spent 7 years staging every bit of it herself.
How do you stage your own murder while hogtied? This sounds like a logic puzzle gone horribly wrong.
To understand the end, we have to go back to June 1982. Cindy James was a 44-year-old nurse who specialized in working with children with emotional disturbances, but her personal life was fracturing.
Let me guess, a bad breakup?
Exactly. She just separated from her husband, Dr. Roy Makepeace, a prominent psychiatrist. Almost immediately after he moved out, the calls started.
Prank calls? Creepy breathing?
Worse. A distorted, whispering voice told her she was going to die. Within months, someone smashed her porch lights, cut her phone lines, and left raw meat on her doorstep.
Did the police take it seriously? That's classic escalating stalker behavior.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP, launched what became one of the most expensive investigations in BC history. They spent over $1 million trying to catch this phantom, but here's the problem. Whenever they set up surveillance, the attack stopped. As soon as they looked away, Cindy would be found beaten and bound. Over the next 7 years, Cindy reported over 100 separate incidents. It wasn't just phone calls anymore. It was physical warfare.
Give me an example. How bad did it get?
In early 1983, a neighbor found Cindy unconscious in her driveway. She had a black nylon stocking stuffed into her mouth and her hands were tied behind her back. Later, she found her own dog hanging from a telephone pole with a wire around its neck.
That is pure psychological torture. How did the police not catch anyone if they were spending millions?
That's where the narrative splits. Detective Sergeant Tony Batchelor initially believed Cindy, but the evidence, or lack of it, started to turn the department against her. Police would sit in cars across the street and see nothing, yet Cindy would run out of the house moments later claiming someone had just jumped her in the kitchen.
So the cops thought she was doing it to herself? Like a cry for help?
That was their theory. They noted there was never any forced entry at her house. They pointed to her history of depression. They even suggested she had a factitious disorder where a person creates trauma to get medical attention.
But she was being physically assaulted. You can't exactly give yourself a concussion or tie your own hands behind your back easily.
Cindy actually hired a private investigator named Ozzie Caban because she knew the police didn't believe her. She changed her name, painted her car, and moved houses, but the whisperer always found her.
This culminates in May 1989, right?
Correct. Cindy went missing on May 25th. Her car was found in a parking lot with groceries still inside and blood on the door. 2 weeks later, she was found dead in the yard of an abandoned house.
Back to the beginning, the hog tie and the drugs.
Precisely. She had a lethal cocktail of morphine and sedatives in her system. The knots on the ligatures were neat and controlled. The police argued she injected herself, tied herself up, and waited to die to prove everyone wrong.
That sounds physically impossible. To inject a lethal dose of morphine and then have the coordination to tie professional-grade knots behind your back before you pass out? No way.
The case went to a coroner's inquest in 1990, where 80 witnesses testified. Her family, especially her sister Diane, fought tooth and nail to prove a killer was still out there.
What was the verdict? Suicide or homicide?
Neither. The jury returned a verdict of death by an unknown event. It's a legal gray area that basically means we have no idea what happened here.
That has to be devastating for the family. It's like the legal system just shrugged its shoulders at her death.
It remains one of the most polarizing cases in Canadian history. It highlights the terrifying reality of stalking and how easily the system can turn on a victim if they don't fit the perfect mold. If she was telling the truth, a sadistic killer played a 7-year game with the police and won.
And if she was faking it, she was one of the most committed and tortured psychological cases ever documented. Either way, it's a tragedy. What's the one thing to remember about Cindy James?
Cindy James's death serves as a haunting reminder that sometimes the truth is buried so deep between trauma and evidence that even $1 million investigation can't find it.
That's Wikipedia. Every story on demand. Search your next topic at wikipedia.aa.